Do you know the latest facts about stocks of gaming companies? Are you familiar with the latest facts on eSports? In this video, I'll tell you all about it. Please sit back and enjoy, brother. I want to start by saying that I'm a big fan of the most famous investor, Warren Buffett, and his investing strategy for non-experts. And that is, do not buy individual stocks, but instead go with index funds if you're not a professional. He says the trick is not to pick the right company. The trick is to buy all the big companies and to do it consistently. He recommends the S&P 500, so that is what I do. I am broadening my horizons a little bit by looking into other ways to diversify my investments, since I'm now 100% invested in the S&P 500, which are only US-based companies. Here is where this video comes into play. And I did some interesting research around gaming company stocks and eSports, what I would like to share with you. So this famous investor Warren Buffett also says you shouldn't invest in companies you don't understand. Buffett invests only in companies where he understands all its ins and outs and the market conditions. So if you're like me and follow the latest news around esports and what's happening in the gaming scene, you know this industry is booming and it's only the beginning. My investment strategy with the S&P 500 investments is what's called dollar cost averaging. And you can look it up on Google, but in a nutshell, it is buying stocks each month whether the market is up or down at a fixed amount. As an example, my goal is now to buy 10,000 euros of S&P 500 stocks every single month. And if you look at the historical data, the S&P 500 gives an 8% return on average per year. If I keep this up for 10 years, my total amount invested is 1.2 million euros. And my ending investment balance is a little more than 1.8 million euros because of the 8% annual return. You get the point, right? But I'm deviating from this video's theme, and that's whether or not we should invest in esports and gaming company stocks. So if I were to try to make money in the gaming industry by investing, how would I go about doing that? As told before, I'm not a big fan of buying individual stocks because I am not a professional. The question is, what other options are there in buying gaming stocks if I don't want to purchase individual gaming company stocks? Well, I found this ETF called VanEck Vectors Video Gaming and eSports ETF that replicates as closely as possible the price and yield performance of the MVIS Global Video Gaming and eSports Index. This index tracks the performance of 25 video gaming companies and eSports companies since December 31, 2014. These 25 companies generate at least 50% of their revenues from video gaming and or esports. And if you follow the return on your investment, if you invested on the day of inception in 2014, you would now have a total net return of more than 500%. That's an insane return and a lot more than the S&P 500's return. The thing is, it is not entirely fair because most stocks of these gaming companies skyrocketed since March of 2020 because of the current situation we're in. Everyone's at home and gaming is booming. But what will happen when everything returns back to normal? So what if we compare VanEck's ETF performance with the S&P 500 just before the situation changed in late February of 2020? As said before, the eSports index began on December 31, 2014 at 999 points. This number grew by 310% from the inception date in 2014 to February 17, 2020. That's somewhat an annual growth rate of 30%. The S&P 500 stood at 2,058 points on December 31, 2014. On February 18, 2020, the S&P 500 was at 3,370 points. And that's somewhat an annual growth rate of 10%. All in all, a much higher return on your investment with the eSports ETF, but of course also more risk because you only invest in 25 companies and only one industry, namely gaming. One thing to note here, VanEck's eSports ETF doesn't pay any dividends, whereas the S&P 500 ETF does pay out dividends. Furthermore, the ETF I buy that tracks the S&P 500 is free. There are no management fees whatsoever. With the VanEck's eSports ETF, you need to pay management fees of 0.55% each year of the amount you have invested. Meaning, when you invest it for $20,000, you pay a yearly fee of $110. Warren Buffett insists on finding and buying low-cost index funds because if you invest $110 into a free index fund like the S&P 500 with a yearly return of 8%, you will have $13,458 in 30 years. With only $3,300 invested. When you have more money invested in VanEck's eSports ETF, the more you pay each year in management fees, of course. For example, if you have $100,000 invested, you pay $550 per year on management fees. If you've instead invested that $550 into a free index fund like the Vanguard S&P 500, you would have had more than $67,000 within 30 years of buying and holding, assuming of course that the S&P 500 gives an annual return of 8%. So this is just something to keep in mind when making a decision. So who are these 25 companies in VanEck's eSports ETF and why did they choose them? So to be included in their index, the company must have at least $150 million in market cap, meaning the total value of all the company's shares of stock should be at least $150 million. Furthermore, the average daily trading volume must be at least $1 million and at least 250,000 shares must be traded per month over the last 6 months. And for diversification, companies' weighings are capped at 8%, meaning the goal is to balance each quarter when there is more than 8% of the total assets invested in one individual company. An example is when an individual company performs a lot better than the rest. Thus, the particular company will weigh 11%, for instance, instead of 8% in its total portfolio for this index. To balance the portfolio, they need to sell shares from the company that perform better to ensure the portfolio isn't overly invested in that single company. Companies from literally all over the world are in this index. We have the United States, the Cayman Islands, Japan, South Korea, Poland, Sweden, France, and Taiwan. And one of their biggest holdings is Tencent from China. Tencent is 100% stakeholder of Riot Games. And Riot Games is the maker of the most popular esports game, League of Legends. And League of Legends is by far the most watched game on streaming platform Twitch. And to put things into perspective, the League of Legends World Championship in 2019 was a record-breaking esports event. More than 100 million viewers. And most of these fans tuned in via streaming services like Twitch and YouTube. In comparison, the Super Bowl that same year had 100.7 million viewers across the NFL's digital properties and CBS. So only 700,000 viewers more. Tencent also owns 40% of the company Epic Games from the popular Battle Royale game Fortnite. Last year, 2019, on July 28, a 16-year-old kid won the solo Fortnite World Cup. He won $3 million by winning this tournament. Imagine being 16 and winning $3 million by playing Fortnite. Unbelievable, is it? I'm just saying this because many people don't even know how much money these games make. The Fortnite World Cup is just one example where lots of money is spent and made in the gaming industry. Last year in 2019, Fortnite made $2.4 billion in revenue, making it the most profitable game that year. And to put things into perspective, Netflix revenue was $20 billion in that same year. Of course, it's not all game makers in this 25 companies list. In the second place, its biggest holding is NVIDIA Corporation. It's a US-based company that makes computer hardware like graphic cards and such. NVIDIA almost doubled its stock price since March this year. In the third place we have C Group, Garena's owner, the developer and publisher of Free Fire, a popular mobile battle royale game. In 2019, Free Fire was the most downloaded mobile game globally and the highest grossing mobile game in Latin America and Southeast Asia. Other companies in this list involve in streaming services and esports events. And to take a little step back and look at the gaming industry as a whole, Newzoo.com projected that the total video gaming industry will reach $159 billion in revenue in 2020. Newzoo.com also forecasts that the gaming market will grow further to $200 billion by the end of 2023. According to Newzoo, out of the $159 billion in revenue of 2020, roughly $1.1 billion will be generated by esports. Esports is still only a fraction of the total video gaming revenue. And let me ask you this. Where do we need to look at if we want to know what changes are coming in general in the world? In my opinion, we need to look at Gen Z. These are the people born between 1996 and 2015. Looking at the age of professional esports players, you see that they begin very young. One of the most popular Fortnite players is 16 years old and has 1.2 million followers on Twitter. All his peers follow him and want to be like him. He plays video games and gets a lot of money to do so. The ultimate dream job, right? It's the same thing with young kids following big soccer players or rock stars or what have you. The question is, will these young kids later in life watch a soccer game on TV or on their phone, or will they rather watch an esports match or a tournament they've watched their whole life already? I don't think traditional sports will disappear. Still, I do believe there will be a big transition in viewers numbers, where esports eventually will take over the numbers of viewers of traditional sports. Furthermore, do you know how much big companies like Coca-Cola, Canon and so forth spend on marketing and advertising in professional sports like soccer, basketball, American football, etc.? Well, I found this article from February 4, 2020 to predict that the sports advertiser spend will reach more than $48 billion globally. And esports is a fraction of the total money spent on sports in general. Please do remember that Gen Z is our world's future and they will start their corporate life in a few years. If those companies like Coca-Cola and such trying to market their products to Gen Z, how do you think they're trying to do that? Pay attention to that, brother. All in all, I believe the esports and gaming industry is rapidly evolving and it's becoming bigger and bigger. There are great possibilities to make money while this industry is still at an early stage. Whether by investing, as we talked about in the beginning of this video, or setting up esports teams as you have in soccer and other traditional sports. Furthermore, there are endless business ideas you can come up with to make money in esports and gaming. So what do you think? Do you have plans to be financially invested in the gaming industry? Whether you are or you are not, please let me know what you think of all this. If this video provided any insights and value to you, please click that like button. And lastly, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel as I'm publishing 2 new videos each week, on Mondays and on Thursdays. And I do have some exciting video topics coming your way to help you make more of that daily bread. So that's all I got to say for today. Stay hydrated, stay healthy, and good luck with your journey to earning that daily bread for you and your family. Thanks for watching my video, brother, and I'll see you next time. Robin out.